Welcome back, everybody. Abracadabra. And the cat has disappeared. Well, welcome back, everybody. It's another edition of New Guitar Day. We're going to tempt fate. We have another IYV guitar. It's 40 degrees outside. Hardly brutal conditions. So instead of waiting, we're just going to pop this out and assume that a poly finish can take the change in temperature. So, this is a Les Paul style guitar in emerald green, which I must admit was not my first choice of colors. That if I had the option of the rainbow of colors available in guitars, but this is the color that this guitar comes in. Emerald green. So, behold. First we will see, we're going to check to see if that pesky screw we got our other one is present. And a little bit of damage to the neck brace, but it seemed to survive. The packing on these is so incredibly minimal, I would expect, and a feel for that neck crack. We don't feel anything there. I'm going to go over just the obvious. It's definitely chilly, but this room is cool, so I don't see it as being a huge temperature shock. I'm going to look at it real quick. Just the obvious. Flame looks actually pretty nice. Binding looks okay. Back looks like it's maybe 3 pieces. That feels good to the touch. Neck feels like it's a nice profile. It definitely looks like it's a multi-piece neck. The attachment to the body looks good and solid. A little bit of a finish flaw there, but certainly nothing to worry about. Fret ends feel good. The nut feels good. Pickups are buried, but we want to lift those a little. Action looks pretty good. There might be some buzzing. Yeah, initial impressions. Bit of a finish flaw to the fingers there, but again, we're talking a $129 guitar. We're not going to be overly critical. So since it's out of the box, by the way, I do believe I said it was January the 17th, 2023, Tuesday afternoon. We're going to go ahead and just, see what this does. That's probably the best thing we can do is just plug it in and give it a whirl, see if it's got any major issues going on. So we will be back. Welcome back, everybody. It is still January the 17th, 2023. I've just played this guitar for about 2.5 hours, and I'm going to say, wow, wow, wow. If this guitar cost twice as much, if it was a $260 guitar, I would still be very impressed, but you have to get back to basics. This guitar cost me $129 brand new, shipped to my front door. And it's absolutely amazing. So let's just dive right in. First of all, it is a cheap guitar, and I say cheap not in crappy, but inexpensive. Obviously, every component on this guitar was at the bottom tier of the price level. I mean, when you just start adding in things like the tailpiece, the bridge, the pickups, the tuners, the switches, the potentiometers, the output jack, they have to be the most inexpensive. Again, I don't know what the price point is for the manufacturer on this guitar. Does it cost him $50 to make it? And he sends it off to a retailer and they sell it for $130. And again, keep in mind there's free shipping in there, so you have to whack off at least $20 or $30 even if the shipper is getting preferred shipping with UPS, this came all the way from, where did it come from? I think it came from somewhere in Pennsylvania, I want to say, all the way to Montana. So you got to take 20, 30 bucks off there. So now we're down to $100. And the guy that sold it to me must have made a bit of a profit, and the person that made it must have made a bit of a profit. And keep in mind, it had to be shipped all the way from Vietnam to wherever it went to, and then it was liquidated. And so, again, we're talking very inexpensive. And yet what they can do with that amount of money is stunning. The only thing that I would change on this guitar, and I won't, would be the pickups. Could use a bit of an upgrade, and I say upgrade only because I'm looking for a little warmer tone, and I do find that the inexpensive humbuckers especially tend to sound a bit brittle. But I was also able to EQ a lot of that brittleness out by just turning down the tone knobs, and they actually work quite well. I mean, there's a bit of a, as you find in all inexpensive potentiometers, it's sort of on and then it's not, and then there's that fine little area that you can tune it in. That worked fine, so that was really good. The tuners, cheap, 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 but once you get over the and you dial it in, it holds the tune really good. So apparently they cut the nut really well because there's no binding on the nut. There is a bit of pinging when you're tuning coming from the saddles on the bridge. I'm not really sure what that is, if they need to be lubed or just broken in, but again, once you get it dialed in, no pinging, no problem. The output jack on this guitar is actually really good, as is the other 3 IYV guitars that I have. Very firm, good solid contact. There's no glitchiness to it at all. I don't know if over time that will deteriorate, but at the moment, for a brand new guitar, it works fine. Some people are complaining about the pickguard being cheap. You know, it's interesting because a year ago I bought 2 of the upper tier Epiphone Les Pauls, the 59 Outfit and the Joe Bonamassa Lazarus. And I certainly would never stick my neck out to get it chopped off to say that this guitar is better, but I think I like this guitar better. Clearly those 2 Epiphones were, again, CTS pots, Burstbucker pickups, higher quality tuners. Okay, but the fit and finish on this guitar, honestly, it has one tiny flaw, and I'll get to that in a moment, but other than that, I can't find anything. Now, some of the people online swear that this is a veneered flame maple top. Some people have gone even as far as to say that it's actually a maple cap. I tend to think it's photo finish only because when I go up and down, they say the trick for the real deal is as you move back and forth, you see movement. And I don't see any at all. But again, for this price, what do I care if it's a piece of paper? I don't care. It's got a slop of poly on top of it. Now again, maybe they know something I don't know. Maybe I'm just not seeing it. This one is not overly flamed, but it's certainly, you can see it. The camera probably doesn't pick it up very well, so we'll just come in a little closer. There, you can see it there. Unfortunately, you have that light blasting away at you, but it's definitely flamey, so that's a nice feature. Others have also said that there's a long neck tenon, which I would only know if I took the pickup out and saw if that feature was actually in place. Again, you get all kinds of speculation and people's opinions on the internet, and who knows what is what. I have no idea. The mechanical flaw in this guitar, which is probably something that's easily solved, but the pickups, when you're adjusting them, don't really want to go up or down. They tend to want to tilt. So I'm not sure what that's about. Someone else also went out of their way to say that this neck does not have a scarf joint. They proclaim that it's actually like the Gibsons in the 70s, that it's a 3-piece neck. And if you look, you can almost see that that's true. You can clearly see that part up here, but that could just be the wings that they attach to it. But anyways, they claim that it's 3 pieces, and then with the fingerboard, that would be a 4-piece. The body, again, to me looks like it's either 3 or 4 pieces. I'm going to say it's 4 pieces. 1, 2, 3, 4. It looks like 4 pieces. Which, you know, a lot of Les Pauls are known for having 4-piece bodies, so that's not an issue. Again, I showed you when I unboxed it the absolute spine-tingling, chilling, minimal packing that these guitars get, and I noticed no damage whatsoever, which is shocking, because some people go out of their way to do a bang-up job when they pack, and I've had guitars that were packed really, really well, and they've shown up damage. The one flaw, which is just a minor flaw, there's a little bit of glue right here, and I don't know if it's seeped out and then they put the finish on it, but when you play the guitar you don't notice it. You only notice it when you're sitting there and you're just rubbing your finger up and down and you go, oh, there's a little bit of a bump right here on the 3rd fret, but that is not an issue. Again, educated guess. Some people have said that the headstock logo is an inlay. I would venture to guess it's probably just a sticker. Again, just price point. I can't imagine them taking the time to actually carve that in. And I'm going to come back and give you the translation for this Vietnamese script right here. It's pretty cool. It's a nice little saying. The fingerboard is sort of red, but it's not bright red, so that's fine. The inlays look like they did a really nice job. There's no filler or no glue sticking out on it. The whatever the fingerboard is made out of, it seems to have a nice grain to it. The switch actually feels really good on my IYV Telecaster. It's really flaky. And the potentiometers also have a nice resistance to them. They're not, floppy. They have that nice feel to it. So overall, this guitar is, again, I used the word when I started, I'll use it again. It's stunning. For what it costs, there's a little bit of a flaw here. I mean, again, you're going to find little finish flaws, and I wouldn't stay up awake at night worrying about stuff like that. You figure at this price point, you're going to find some stuff that just isn't perfect, and why should it be at this price? But overall, a little bit of rubbing compound there that could be rubbed out. But overall, and my favorite part, which I am saving for last, the guy that sold this to me, and I was looking at it, again, because I've had 3 Les Pauls previous to this, all in the 9.5 pound range, which is why I sold them. And even though I don't stand up, I just don't like guitars that are that heavy. So the first question I asked this guy was, how much does this guitar weigh? And it was by email, and he said, I'll get back to you and I'll tell you. And he came back and said 7 pounds. And you know what? I weighed it, 7 pounds. And I love that. That to me just makes this guitar so comfortable, so user-friendly. All the Squires that I got on the Pro Audio Star sale, other than the thin line, and probably the Cyclone, and maybe the Toronado is a little under 8 pounds, but the Stratocasters and the Telecasters straight up are all 8+ pounds. And that 1 pound just makes a difference. It just is, to me, it's the difference between a comfortable guitar and a slightly heavy guitar. But it's 7 pounds. This thing rocks. I mean, this is like, and I don't know what the wood is. They say it's mahogany. Again, some people are saying that this is a maple cap. Others are saying that it's a maple veneer. I don't know. Like I said, I don't see the movement in the flame. So I'm just going to take an uneducated guess and say that it's actually photo flame. But who knows? It might not be, because for the most part when you're dealing with a photo flame situation, they're all exactly the same because they only print one flame. And I've seen lots of variations on these, and people have commented that some are much more flamey than others. So maybe it is a veneer. I don't know. But does any of this really matter? So there you go. So I will be back in just a minute with the translation on the truss rod cover and the model number, and then we'll be done. Okay, so according to one person, and again, this is not gospel, but one person did a Google translation on the script on the truss rod cover, and they said that it says relationship sound music. So again, don't hold me to that. I have no idea. I'm taking the word of someone else on Google, and Google doesn't always tell you the truth. So, but that's a nice thing to say. I mean, considering the history of the United States in Vietnam, someone could have said "Die Yankee Dog." So it's a nice thought. And the model number on this guitar is the IYV ILS 300 Les Paul style in emerald green. And again, I'm just really pleased with this guitar. Of course, we'll see. We'll be back in a week to do our final wrap-up, and then I may have a totally different opinion, but right now I'm just absolutely stunned. It's the best word I can use. I mean, it's just a very well put together guitar, and again, I haven't found any major flaws in it at all. Solved the problem of the pinging, which I will investigate tonight. It could use some new strings, but I'm so cheap I'll probably keep these on for a while and then take them off and oil up the fretboard, and away we go, and see if I can solve the mystery of why the pickups don't want to go up and down with the greatest of ease. So thank you once again for joining us. I know I've said this more than once. This is probably going to be the last guitar I get for a while, only because I need to sell at least 10 guitars that I got, I tried, I liked, but I'm probably not going to keep the majority of them. This one I'm going to keep for a while for sure, because I've got a Epiphone. They don't call it a Les Paul, they call it an Epiphone Special P90. It's a little, it's a slab-shaped body. It's sort of like a Les Paul Jr. Anyways, this guitar rocks. So thank you very much. I'll be back in a week or so. Welcome back, everybody. It is February the 1st, 2023. I have now had this guitar for a little more than 3 weeks. I've played it every single day, and I just wanted to wrap up this video. For the record, this is the IYV ILS 300 EGR. And the EGR is for the emerald green color, which again, I have to say, if I had had a choice, I probably would not choose green as the color, but it's a beautiful color. The camera shows it a little lighter. It's a very deep emerald green. It's a very nice guitar. I had to laugh because on Facebook there's an IYV guitar fan page, and one fellow put a picture of this up and said, I've got Gibsons, I have Fenders, but this is the guitar that I play. And everyone started weighing in. How could that be? It's sacrilegious to compare a $130 guitar to Gibsons and Fenders. And it made me think of a little saying which is pretty much like this. It's not the cost of the guitar that determines how good it is, it's how much pleasure it brings you. And I have to say, I have owned and played a fair share of Les Pauls in my life, and I really enjoy this guitar. And it's not due to the fact that it has the most expensive PAF pickups, or the Switchcraft switch, or the CTS pots, or the Switchcraft output jack, or Grover tuners, because it has none of those. But there's something just very charming about this guitar. And maybe part of the charm is that it cost as little as it did. But given that, it plays way above its price point and sounds. An interesting point, they're probably incredibly cheap, these Destiny CNC wound pickups. I'm sure they're not wax potted, so I did a little research last night. And the original PAFs that are so prized now that people pay hundreds, if not more, for, from the late 50s and early 60s guitar, none of them were wax potted. And part of the reason is that people weren't playing high gain rock and roll, and I guess that's sort of the point of the wax potting, is to eliminate the potential for microphonic feedback. But it also has an effect on tone, and there really is no this is better than this. It's all a matter of what you're looking for. And these pickups just have a very nice vintage, warm, articulate. They don't sound muddy to me at all. They're very crisp and clean. I play with a bit of distortion, but certainly not high gain by any chance. And they sound really, really good. So I give this guitar 2 very big thumbs up. It was a complete surprise to me. Again, I knew. It's funny because a guy on YouTube got one of these that wasn't very good, and he made the comment at the beginning of his video, when you play budget guitar bingo, you never know what you're going to get. This guitar had two minor issues. One is the pickups don't seem to want to adjust. You turn the screw and they just sort of flop around. But it turns out they're right where I want them to be, which is sitting almost flush with the plastic ring. Some people, again, that's why they adjust, because there's taste. They're a little above it. They rock back and forth, which I think is normal. The other issue was there was a little bit of glue residue on the neck, which when I'm playing I can't feel it. I can only feel it with my finger, and it's starting to smooth out. I had my doubts about whether or not this was actually a veneer top, but I looked at it, and if you change your point of vision, you do see the movement that comes with a real veneer, or, as a few people have claimed, a maple cap. I don't think this has a total maple cap. It might, but there's still a veneer on top. But the veneer is real wood, and real wood will shape shift. And this does seem to do that, so I'm pretty convinced that it is actually a flame maple veneer. And it's a nice flame. They look pretty similar on all the guitars, which is why I thought maybe it was a photo finish, but maybe they just did a nice job of choosing some nice pieces of veneer, and they matched it pretty good. It's not perfect, but unless you're paying thousands of dollars for the perfect Gibson R8 chevron maple cap, that you spend that extra thousands and thousands of dollars, you get a perfect match on the lines. But otherwise, again, in the hardware, I was getting some crazy creaking on the saddles on the Tune-O-Matic bridge, but I put a little bit of graphite in there and the nut as well, and that seems to have calmed down. The tuners are a weak point on this guitar, but once you tune it up, it holds tune really nice, which is basically all it needs to do. Another interesting thing is that on some of the guitars I've seen, there's a lot more color in the IYV and the little whatever this thing is. If you move this, it also color shifts, but some of them are like really, really deep green. It's all a matter of preference. In the end, it doesn't matter. Those are just cosmetics. Of course, cosmetics matter to a degree because that's why we choose things, based on the pleasure it brings to our eyes, but it doesn't matter to me. Anyways, I'm very, very pleased with this guitar. And as I probably mentioned on the first part of this video 3 weeks ago, the fact that this guitar weighs in at 7 pounds, double woohoo, because it's one of the things that I just never really liked about my other Les Pauls. They all seem to be in the 9+ pound. And again, I don't stand much, but even sitting, I just really like guitars that are at the 7 pound range. It just works for me. Some people think that's too light. Some people like a big, beefy, heavy Les Paul, and for them I say, woohoo, get yourself a big, beefy Les Paul. I like a lighter one, and this one really fit the bill. I've got another IYV coming tomorrow. Won't reveal what it is until we shoot the video, but I wanted to get this one done, put it up on YouTube. There's still some of these available. Obviously, they're not on Amazon anymore. They blew them out. A bunch of liquidators got a hold of them. I'm not sure why. Maybe these didn't sell well. Can't compare it to the other budget Les Pauls that are on the market right now, and there's a lot of them. But I can say that this one is just everything I hoped it would be for a price that's just unbelievable. And I may or may not have mentioned in the land of preference a year ago, I bought both the Epiphone 59, it has some long drawn out name, Les Paul, and also the Joe Bonamassa Lazarus. And they were both really nice guitars, up in the $800 to $900 range. Obviously they came with a case. Obviously the quality CTS pots, Gibson Burstbucker pickups, Switchcraft switch, output jack, tuners were no-name tuners. Nice guitars, both 9+ pounds. but I didn't love them. And I really like this guitar a lot more. And again, it just goes to show you that don't let headstock names sway your decision. You have to just go with what you feel. And it's obviously a your mileage may vary situation. You may hate this guitar. You may get a bad one. But you also may get one that's put together well, as this one was. Time will tell. If it starts falling apart in months, earthquake. If it starts falling apart, then obviously the quality wasn't up to snuff. The little things are funny too, because they went out of their way on the Bonamassa and the 59 to put a non-beveled pick guard, and that's what this is. And it's nice and smooth. Cut well, sits good. A lot of people like to take their pick guard off. I like it. To me, it's sort of like a bow tie on a tuxedo. So there you go. Highly recommend this guitar, although I don't recommend any guitars, because then you'd get one and you'd be mad at me if it wasn't what you liked. But if it is something that you like, it's certainly something to consider. So there you go. Final call. Tomorrow is Groundhog's Day. But today is February the 1st, 2023. We're in the middle of winter. It's been a mild winter so far. I still think we have some dues to pay when it comes to cold and snow, but for the time being, it's been quite pleasant. So thank you once again for joining me, and we'll see you on our next unboxing of a new guitar day.